Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. And we are about 1 day after May 18th. Brilliant night of fights. Of course, the big one, Tyson Fury versus Oleksandr Usyk. Then the top ranked card to follow after. But man, what a night of fights. Especially the main event with, of course, the undisputed belts being on the line for that one. Um, just the quality of the fight and how close it was, and just how both Fury and Usyk were able to come back at time. What a fight. But today we're here to discuss nearly the entirety of the main card. The last four fights include Sanchez versus Kabayel, Cordina versus Cacare, Opetaia versus Briedis 2, of course Fury versus Usyk, and we'll discuss just briefly the top rank card and Sergey Kovalev, his fight happened yesterday. Alright, so let's start with Sergey Kovalev. So he fought yesterday on this card on the prelims, and to say the least, it was not a good showing. The scorecards, one judge had it 95-94, which I very much disagree with. The other two had it 97-92, then 99-90, in which I think that's more fair. Kovalev floored badly in round number 10. And can we just talk about the toughness of Kovalev? He stood there for 10 rounds and took Baraka shots all night long. Safar. He took all of Safar's shots up all night long, and now robbing Safar. Guess now we can say he's got Sergey Kovalev resume, so good for him. But I know before this fight Kovalev was talking about how he wants to return to boxing and or maybe fight the winner of Opetaia versus Mairis Briedis too, and maybe fight someone like Lawrence Coley or Chris Ballum Smith. And after this outing, it's just not realistic, even if he won. But yeah, it was not a good performance at all, and he should just call it there. He didn't really have a reason to come back. He already has a Hall of Fame career, and I think Kovalev will retire after this one. I don't want him to turn into somebody like a Tony Ferguson, where he's this legend and then he just gets battered for however long he decides to stick around for. But I just wanted to get that out of the way real quick, and let's just kind of go over Kovalev's career. He's had a Hall of Fame career. I mean, just what a career from Kovalev. Those two brilliant fights with Andre Ward. He's beaten names of Jean Pascal, Isaac Kalemba, and many more. Anthony Yard, and he was having a close fight with Canelo before he got stopped, and Kovalev was past his prime then. He had a competitive fight with Canelo. But just a brilliant career from Kovalev, and really hope he enjoys his retirement. Won many belts during his career. And then we move to Frank Sanchez versus Agit Kabayel. Sanchez, of course, came into the Sanchez came into the fight undefeated. Fun fact: I remember watching Frank Sanchez fight on the Canelo versus Callum Smith undercard. And Kabayel was undefeated too. But I remember watching Frank Sanchez fight on the Canelo undercard when he fought I'm trying to think of a name. Julian Fernandez. When he fought Julian Fernandez, Fernandez just taunting on the ropes and then bang, Sanchez gets him out of there. But this was a dominant and very, very good showing from Agit Kabayel. He was able to just dismantle Sanchez, get him against the ropes a lot, and then land some big shots and get the job done. Agit Kabayel, he really, well, I didn't really know of him, and I don't know if a lot of people did know about him. Before he fought Makhmudov on the December card. Then he goes and defeats a guy like Makhmudov, and Makhmudov, that was one scary guy, and he went in there and pieced Makhmudov up and stopped him. And he goes and stops an unbeaten Frank Sanchez, and I think the sky's the limit, and Agit Kabayel has a very, very good future ahead of him, and I'm excited to see who he fights next. I could probably see him maybe fighting someone like, I think maybe the loser of Filip Hrgovic versus Daniel Dubois. He could fight the loser of that one, or maybe loser or winner. I don't think it really matters of Wilder versus Zhang, but Kabayel has a very uphill career. I think he's gonna do great, and Frank Sanchez's first loss, and just one loss. I do think Sanchez will make a strong comeback whenever he does. So let's move on to the next one. Joe Cordina versus Anthony Cacare. And Cacare came in this match a big, big underdog in this fight. And throughout 2 rounds, there was some police sirens outside, but Cacare did come in as a big underdog, and through 2 rounds, I did have Joe Cordina leading by 2, 2018, and then the photo is up here in the top left. You can't really see it that well, but this kind of reminds me of Floyd Mayweather versus Victor Ortiz, if you guys remember that one, where Mayweather knocked Ortiz out. So it's kind of a sucker punch. And I feel like this fight is quite controversial because of that punch landed from Cacare in the 3rd round. it gives me Mayweather versus Ortiz vibes, as I've said. But it seems like after Cacare landed this shot, it just took a lot out of Cordina. And I mean, if I got hit with that shot, it hit near me too. I think a rematch would be interesting. Um, I think there should be a rematch, and if I was Cordina, I'd be trying to hop on that. But yeah, Cordina was just not the same after that punch. He was floored, as you see in the photo here, and later in the round, and then he was just dominated the rest of the fight. And I forget which round. I could check real quick. I think it's probably round 5, round 6. Round 8. Cordina up in round 8 after just being dominated by Cacare. But congratulations to Cacare. This was probably one of the bigger upsets of the night. Now we move on to the fight that I was most excited for the other night. Of course, not including Fury against Usyk. But behind that, this was my most anticipated fight. Opetaia versus Mairis Briedis rematch. And this fight was, I hate to say it, but it was pretty much a stinker. Before going into that 10th round, Opetaia was just kind of having his way with Briedis. Opetaia, when Briedis did throw, it seemed like Opetaia forced it, and Briedis just kind of came for the bag. I feel like he just kind of came for the check. The only time he really threw was when Opetaia forced him to. And suddenly the tables turned very fast. Round 10, when Briedis landed a barrage of punches and really hurt Opetaia. Opetaia knocked down. Not if it, well, they didn't officially rule it as a knockdown, but he did hit the canvas in, I think, round 10 or 11. But Briedis was doing very, very good. Rounds 10 through 12, and man, I feel like that has to, sting for Briedis. He had just maybe started the engine a little bit earlier. He could have really damaged Opetaia more and possibly gotten a stop. One on points, but as far as my score goes, I think I had it about 118, 110 Opetaia. But yeah, I think this is pretty much the end for Mairis Briedis. Like Kovalev, he had a great career. Of course, he had a much closer fight with Opetaia in their first matchup. Much closer. Back in Australia, where I think he broke Opetaia's jaw, but Opetaia with a great performance last night, and I do think Briedis is gonna ride into the sunset. He's had a great career, but people like Opetaia, of course, Oleksandr Usyk, Mike Perez, Dalla, or so. Really, all I have to say on that, and hope Briedis enjoys retirement because I think that's where he's going. Now let's go to the main event, in which I think is fight of the year so far, no doubt about it. We've already seen some great fights this year. You know, Devin Haney against Ryan Garcia. A lot of people don't know about this one, but on Provox TV, Sergey Lipinets against Robbie Davies Jr. That was a great fight. And on Sky Sports on Easter Sunday, Wardley against Clark, that was a great fight, but I feel like this fight wipes the floor with all of them. This fight had it all. This fight had the drama. This fight had the tight scorecards. It had the comeback. It was just a great, great fight for a fight with such high stakes. You see my scorecard on the top right. I actually had it 114, 113 for Tyson Fury. As you see, I had rounds 1, 2, 3, 4. Excuse me, I had rounds 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 12 scored for Fury. And don't get me wrong, don't get me wrong, I was just kind of scoring for fun. I do think Usyk deserved the win, and I'm very happy that he did get the win against Fury. And it kind of just depended who you gave like the first 2 rounds to, and of course Fury took a lot of the middle rounds, and of course Usyk, since that 9th round, he had a lot of momentum and kind of just had his way with Fury since then. Of course, scoring the knockdown, and it has to hurt for Fury knowing that if he didn't get knocked down in the 9th, I believe. Hold on. Yeah, the 9th. That the fight would have been a draw. That has to hurt for Fury. But overall, great fight, man. It seems like the rematch is already set for October. And it's just a great fight. The official verdict was a split decision. I had it 114, 113 Fury, same card as me, but different rounds. 114, 113, and 115, 112 for Usyk. And I thought they were going to give it to Fury. I'm going to be honest here, because I know they want to make Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua one of the biggest fights at heavyweight. Well, I honestly thought they were going to give it to Fury. I'm very happy Usyk won. So it's just some really great fights. And just real quick, we're not going to talk about it much, but Denise Berinchyk, also in the camp of Oleksandr Usyk, beat Emmanuel Navarette last night. I've seen a video where Usyk was watching that fight live. He was very happy, and Ukraine must feel pretty nice knowing that they have 3 new world champions within 2 weeks. Of course, Vasily Lomachenko beat George Kambosos for the IBF belt. Berinchyk just beat Navarette, the WBO belt, and now Usyk beats Fury for the undisputed belts and takes Fury's WBC. Well, I think that's about gonna do it. I don't really have anything else to say about these matchups. Just some great fights. I had a lot of fun watching these. Just let me know what you guys think about these fights in the comments. And what do you think was the biggest upset of last night? I would have to lean towards Cacare beating Cordina. And who's the pound for pound king now? Because people were debating between Inoue and Crawford, but Usyk has a strong case of being pound for pound king now that he's beaten Fury, who's 30, 40 pounds heavier than him. A lot of questions after last night's fights. But new videos coming out soon. Thought I'd hop on here, give my thoughts on these fights. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.